Hi and greetings. This is Greg Aden with Aden Leadership on another episode of Servant Leader Podcast. And today I have a very special guest, Mr. Daniel Del Olmo. He is the CEO and president of Sage Hospitality Group right here in Denver. And welcome, Daniel. How are you today?
Good morning, Greg. Great to be with you, and it's another day in paradise.
Yes, it is. I don't know where else I'd rather live other than Denver, perhaps Durango, Colorado, but other than that, I love it here. So let's just jump right in. And where are you from? What do you do? How did you get here? And then I'd like to focus on why do you do what you do, Daniel?
Yeah, I was born and raised, Greg, in Belgium. I was raised in a multicultural family. My mom is Italian, my father is Spanish. And I was really raised in hotels. I started traveling the world when I was two with my parents who took me on their journey. And so early on, I developed a keen interest in hospitality, primarily because I don't think there's a better way to connect with people and create that bond that basically brings us together all over the world by learning from each other, from truly the diversity of thought, the diversity of backgrounds, and the different approaches. So
Yes.
my entire career has been in this amazing industry, both on the hotel side and the restaurant side. And in all these years, I've had the fortune to work across 70 countries and nurture partnerships in each and every single one of them. And I now find myself in Denver for over a little bit over a year now, after meeting Walter, who's our founder and CEO here, who started the company 37 years ago now and
Yeah.
has created what I think is a remarkable portfolio of 55 plus properties, and has created a great investment firm to complement it, a restaurant firm to complement it, and a brand DNA and design and development firm to complement it. And so it's been a remarkable journey. And as you know, Greg, besides my career in public companies like Marriott Hotels International, Amadeus, or Wyndham Worldwide, but I set up my own venture called Passionality Group because I thought that it was important to find a way to help emerging concepts and leaders and founders of emerging concepts in the hospitality world, particularly in two verticals: experiential travel and lodging, and lifestyle food and beverage. I thought it was helpful to bring our experience to life with the partners and I that founded the Passionality, and bring that expertise to these founders to help them get on their way and grow in a sustainable and successful fashion. So we created that several years ago, and while I'm no longer involved in the day-to-day, it's great to see how Passionality continues to grow and help these founders and great concepts.
I'm always fascinated by how men and women get to where they are now. So what T in the road brought you to Sage Hospitality Group? What was the conversation like when you first heard about it, and what really triggered your decision for you and or your family to move to Denver?
Yeah, I think that there is nothing more important when you are exploring opportunities to join a firm to really understand and feel the culture of the organization. And you can do that best by, frankly, meeting the people behind the organization. So when Walter and I met almost 2 years ago now, there was an instant connection, an instant bond. Not only do we share the same vision as it relates to experiential hospitality and where that is heading next, but we share the same values and the same philosophy, particularly around servant leadership, which I know you're very, very passionate about.
Yes.
And it makes all the difference. And that then trickles down from the top to the rest of the organization. And when you look at the tenure of the team that has been here that I'm so fortunate to work with, they're just incredible humans first and
Yes.
professionals second.
I'm so glad you said that. As a coach and consultant, and certainly in the realm of leadership, I often remind my clients that we are human beings first, especially when we're trying to decipher how they can be more kind and more considerate as humans. And then we're men and women. And then, oh, by the way, now we have a title with some organization. And I've not been a man ever that's been enamored by titles. I measure a man or a woman by the size of their heart and their desire to serve. And frankly, Daniel, it's been that way in my coaching career as well in leadership. But let's talk
I
about
love to hear.
leadership. Yes.
Greg, I love to hear that because one of my own values is relationships first, and the reality is that you can love what you do and do what you love, but ultimately in our business, it's all about people. The business and the ultimate results will come as a result of the genuine care that you have for the relationships that you nurture along the years, and be careful how you manage and treat your people, because at some point in time, this is a small industry, and it's unfortunately become a little smaller over this last year. We will rebuild it though, but be really careful how you treat people, and the golden rule definitely applies, right? Treat people how you'd like to be treated, definitely.
Daniel, I believe the golden rule is actually treat people better than you want to be treated, but more importantly, treat them how they want to be treated. Can you imagine if we led people with the question, "How may I serve you today?" Could you imagine what that? And it's corny, I get it. It's not "How may I help you?" like in the hospitality industry, but as true leaders, if we were vulnerable and courageous enough to ask that question more often, what kind of real conversations would we get from our employees and our followers? And I can't imagine from your chair and everybody else in the development role for Sage, those partnerships that you've established with Marriott, IHG, Starwood, Hyatt, all those relationships have got to be really, really trusting, because you're doing millions and millions of dollars of work with them. But at the end of the day, you're depending on their brands. They're depending on the way you serve their guests. Yeah.
Very much so. And again, I think this past year has shown how important it is to nurture relationships, listen intently with an open mind, and always assume positive intent as you have conversations with people that are dealing with really, really complex situations at every level, whether you're an owner or whether you're a team member or whether you're a general manager trying to manage all different constituents and stakeholders. Ultimately, it's so important to really lean forward, and to your point, ask how can I help you? And frankly, that is our position, and that's my personal position in leadership, which is it's an inverted pyramid. To me, whoever the leaders of the organization sits at the bottom and not at the top of the pyramid. And in this case, my objective and my responsibility is to make sure that I support my team in every which way for them to be incredibly successful while still living and breathing our values every day, 24/7, 365.
I would like for you, Daniel, to address this question to the industry that you and I both know and love so well, hospitality. And if you were speaking specifically to not the older leaders or the aging leaders, if you will, and you and I both know who I'm talking about, but those that are just learning about leadership, those people that have just become what you and I would refer to as leaders, not managers, what would you say to them that you want them to know? What does Daniel Del Olmo believe leadership means? And specifically today, Daniel, what does the world need now relative to leadership?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked the question, because I believe it can be summed up in two words for me: humanity and compassion. I think that first and foremost, what we have all been experiencing at different levels of intensity is truly beyond unprecedented. It's actually unimaginable.
Yes, it is.
If you think about it, a year ago, a year and a day, I believe, the first case COVID case was discovered here with a gentleman in Seattle. And if you and I would have spoken about the fact that suddenly the entire world and our industry would have come to a halt, and our 80% occupancies would be plummeting down to 3% occupancies, I don't think anybody would have taken us seriously. So I think, to me, the first component is we are all humans and humans first. And I think reflecting and appreciating how everyone's journey has been, no matter how tough, I think is really, really important as a leader. The second element to this is compassion.
Yeah.
Being compassionate with one another, and really, I don't think you can fake genuineness. It just comes natural, and people will pick up on that.
Yeah.
And so for me, as we have conversations with everyone around us, truly being compassionate about someone's situation, understanding it, I think is so critical. And we've then created at Sage, we've created a whole initiative around this called You Belong. And it's basically sort of fully aligned with our business strategy, where obviously we want to enrich lives one experience at a time across our entire stakeholder community, or team members, or guests, or partners, or communities. And this whole program is sort of built on these three pillars, Greg, where the first one is around how do we connect with associates and energize their hearts and help them through health and wellness benefits. We provide flexibility. We make sure that our associates feel safe. We implemented early on a lot of measures because we felt it was really, really important to start with our associates first.
Yeah.
The second pillar is all about how do we engage minds. So once you have sort of the basic cornerstone of health and wellness covered, then the second piece is how can we intellectually stimulate you by providing you ongoing updates to make sure that you feel fully up to speed and frankly inspired about where we're headed, because so much of this is the uncertainty. Well, how can we give you more comfort in a very uncertain environment by just providing as much information as we can, and provide you more resources on the learning and development piece so that you can continue to grow while the world remains or feels stagnant or has felt like that, right? And then the third pillar is really about how do we encourage success? And that's the emotional aspect of our You Belong initiative, where ultimately people still want to grow and they want to succeed and they want to continue to feel like everybody's moving forward and want to celebrate the small wins and the large wins. And so building in opportunities, whether it's stretch assignments because there may not be that many opportunities for growth in the immediate term,
Sure.
Or celebrations. We're doing a Sage appreciation call on March 6th with all of our general managers across the country, and really appreciating them and providing awards and recognition for them for their incredible work today. So those are some of the things of how we're putting humanity and compassion to life in real practice.
Yeah, thank you. And it's refreshing, regardless of what industry you're in. But in the one I grew up in, it's refreshing to hear you put people that work for you first. Mr. Marriott, I was a bellman at Marriott's Tantera back in the early 80s, and I remember standing, this is Mr. Marriott Sr., by the way. I was standing post, and back then you were hands behind, chest out. Anybody that walked in and out of that door, you opened it, and here comes Mr. Marriott. And for some reason, he just said, "Greg, where are you from?" And I told him, I go to school in Durango. I'm from Albuquerque. And somehow the word, "What's the secret?" or something like that came up. And he said it very plainly. He said, "Greg, the secret to this industry is to make sure the people that live in the house are taken care of. So then when guests visit the house, they'll have an enjoyable experience."
So true.
I thought about how simple it is. We have to take care of one another in these hotels, in our houses, so to speak. So when people do visit, They're going to see mom and dad, brother and sister, everybody's getting along because that's where we want to be. We chose to work here. And what the environment that you're creating for your associates, Daniel, I mean, anyone listening to this, I believe they're going to say, why don't we do that? Why don't we focus on the real reason we're here? And that's the people that work for us. And then the real reason we're able to make money and to be successful and to share our great experiences we provide are called the guests. And yes, they're extremely valuable as well. But the priority is the associate. And it's refreshing to hear you say that.
Absolutely. No, thank you for sharing. What a great story.
Yeah. Well, from leadership, you dive down into what I subscribe to is the only leadership, but is servant leadership. So to the audience, I'd love to hear, when you think of servant leadership, Daniel, what does it mean to you? And again, as you were to recommend a piece of it to anyone, what would you say about servant leadership?
On February 8th of last year, we had our Sage Leadership Festival. We had about 150 people in our ballroom at the Blackstone Hotel in Chicago. Just a remarkable setting. And it was my first meeting all of them. And I was sharing some of my background, and I shared the inverted pyramid that I spoke about earlier. And I told everybody that, first of all, I'm here to serve you.
Yeah.
As a result, our team at the home office is here to serve you and not the way around. And to me, the first thing is you lead by example. And so I am always not only available, but I encourage our team members, no matter what level you are in the organization, to reach out to myself or anyone in the team when they need help or they have a suggestion or a thought. And this was actually one of the many reasons why I was so attracted to join Sage and Walter and the team, because that's exactly what Walter embodies. He's the most charismatic, while being one of the most successful people in the business. But yet he has this incredibly humble servant leadership, heart-led leadership approach that is so attractive. So I think, one, you lead by example. Two, you're very open and you communicate constantly by asking genuine questions of, how can I help you? How can we make things better for you? And so particularly in this past year, we reached out as much as we could, and we modeled that behavior by going out to the properties or doing virtual visits and asking everyone, what can we do to serve you better? So it's really sort of modeling that behavior that I would say is so critical. And the other thing I would say is over the last couple of years, I spent a little bit more time thinking about, why am I here? What's my purpose of being on this earth?
Yeah.
I shared this with the audience as well, which is all about, I really want to inspire people to have a positive and lasting impact on others.
Yes.
Because if we all create a positive ripple effect, and as a result of the dialogue that you and I have, others get inspired to do positive things, even if it is asking, how can I serve you better today? Yeah. The world will be a better place. And so in a very, very small way, it's a small little thing that we can do that hopefully extends our leadership, our servant leadership, beyond our immediate reach.
It's funny. It's as if you've read my website, or Robin read my website, and I'll tell you, when I was leaving IHG after 16 and a half years of a remarkable career, I had just gotten married. My wife at the time and I were adopting a little guy from Russia. And oh, by the way, we ended up getting pregnant during that process. And then I soon left to climb Aconcagua in Argentina. And I was 18,000 feet up the mountain, Daniel. And I asked myself, what am I doing here? And as a development person, focused, competitive, all the other things you can imagine, I had my head in my arse. And when I got home, that's what I asked myself. Why am I really here? Am I here to make $1 million a year and have awards and win incentive trips? Or am I here to create a family? Am I here to help other people live a better life? And although the relationship didn't work with Laura, I am so fortunate that I have two young boys, young men, I guess, they're 9 and 11, because that's why I'm really here. And at the end of the day, if I can inspire them, just those two human beings, that would be the enough purpose for me. But meanwhile, because of what I do now for the last 7 years, I'm able to have these exact conversations with a lot of different people, Daniel, who not only want to do something to have an impact and inspire others, but they have the means to. And when I ask them to stop and slow down and ask them that very question, and I mean, why are you here today? Why are you at this organization? Why do you want to be in leadership? When I ask them those questions, it really grounds us to have a conversation is, does leadership mean anything to you? Or do you just have a title that says you might be a leader? So I really engage them into owning why are they here. So it's really beautiful to hear you say that, and it's nice to be aligned with another person that's come from a whole different background, but we kind of meet in the center relative to what leadership is all about.
No question.
So the last topic I'd like to discover is this Leadership Development Day, and I remember when Phil Hugh introduced us, and I believe your comment was, Greg, we're in. And when you said that, I recognized that not only did I pick the right partner, but I was on the phone with a man who got it. And obviously, if anyone who's listening to this podcast would agree, but when I knew that I had a good partner in the industry to build this, because we're going to do this every single year, and it's going to be huge. The Leadership Development Day on February 4th. Daniel, I guess really just two soft questions. One, when you first heard about it, what were your thoughts? And then secondly, why did you decide to participate?
Yeah, so the first thought was when you were sharing what you were thinking of rolling out, during the time that all of us were trying to figure out how to preserve cash and focus on, making some of the toughest decisions. You were thinking ahead, and you were thinking about, how do I help people that are dealing with making difficult decisions and at the same time motivating and inspire them to what is next. And doing that in this incredibly difficult environment, to me, it was a no-brainer to support you, because someone that has the courage, the perseverance, the tenacity, the passion, and the enthusiasm to do this for people, taking that risk, for us, it just seems completely aligned with our values and our philosophy. And so I wanted to do everything we could to support you in your venture. And I agree with you. I think this will be something that will continue to grow. We will love to be a part of that and support it. And for me personally, I'm very, very passionate about servant leadership. I realized that after, 25 plus years in business, I realized today that I know nothing. And so learning from others on leadership and how to continue to improve. I feel like I make 1,000 mistakes a day as a leader. And so continuing to learn from everyone, no matter what experience or what tenure, and definitely what title you have, we can all learn from one another. And so if I can contribute a little bit and in exchange learn from all the incredible talent that is there, both in the audience and on stage, I'm there.
Yeah, thank you very much. And you said the word aligned, and I would say that you may know, but my 5 principles that I coach with, Daniel, are integrity. You are your word. Accountability, responsible for all, our thoughts, our words, our actions. Courage, not to eliminate fear and not to be Mr. Bravado, but the courage to have courageous conversations. And then passion, we've covered it. And then the one that you embody is humility. And I really ask the leaders out there to get a check. Are you truly humble? Are you showing up with humility and empathy and, to your word, compassion? Do you really have what it takes to stop and wonder what it's like to be the other person on the other side of the desk? or outside of your window. And when you do, only then can we be great leaders. And that's what I'm really trying to create in this Leadership Development Day, Daniel, is what if? What if people stopped for 20 minutes, 2 hours, 6 hours, and said, how can I be a better parent, a better owner, a better leader, and a better partner? I mean, I believe there's a lot of men and women that could benefit from this day and lean into their relationships just a little bit more. And then Susie and Johnny are going to see mom and dad loving one another instead of fighting, and then all of a sudden they become more passionate. They become more loving in their relationships. And exactly what you said earlier, what if we could impact others by our own actions? Well, how difficult does it need to be? We will. So, and I will say this to end. The other speakers that I've interviewed on this podcast have all said they're excited to learn from others. And I believe that's another output of this day. When people are watching this, they're going to see people that have come together for a common cause. And again, I don't know how else to support humanity other than to get good humans together to serve other great humans. So God bless you for being part of this, Daniel. I really appreciate you.
Likewise, I really appreciate you and everything that you're doing, and I'm so looking forward to seeing you in person. In a couple weeks, which is a real treat.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be great. And again, with that, I just want to say, everybody that's listening, thank you for tuning in with Daniel Del Olmo of Sage Hospitality Group. Again, this is Greg Aden with Aden Leadership, the Servant Leadership Podcast. Thank you.